Like you said that you should know be smarter, but I know how you do. Because be smarter, we don't know anything about how to improve intelligence, and I suppose we don't really know anything about how to improve industriousness either. But I can tell you that people who are industrious come up with a strategy for solving the problem that ahead of them. You want to know something about yourself, send you better on that insight to yourself. You got to mean this, you have to be this way. This is no game. This. What's one thing I'm doing wrong? That I know I'm doing wrong. That I could fish. That I would fish. You meditate on that. You get an answer, and it won't be one you want. But it will be the necessary one. In this video, we will explore some of his best kept secrets for maximizing focus and achieving long-term success. So you can study smarter, not harder. Now I tend to tell people to fix the thing you repeat every day, because people you tend to disrupt those trivial where you just get up, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you have your routines that you go through every day. Well, those constitute 50% of your life. And people think we're on Monday and don't need to pay attention to them like this. No, that's really wrong. The thing you do every day, that's the more important thing you do. Hands down, how you do is need to do the arithmetic. We make an average of 35,000 decisions every single day. We can eventually lead to decision fatigue, a state of mental overload, not getting peer, or worsen ability, to continue making decisions. Outside, Barker's totally man explain the more decision you have, the more budget you develop and the more difficult it can become. This mental exhaustion can lead to poor choice, procrastination, or even to certain or to avoid decision altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simplifying daily routine, such as planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent wardrobe, or establishing constructive habits. Additionally, breaking down complex processes into smaller, measurable steps can make decision-making feel less overwhelming, helping individuals conserve mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people who are ambitious come up with a strategy for solving the problem that help them, and then they do whatever they do can do to stick to strategy. So, for example, if you sat down today or tomorrow for a couple of hours, 3 hours, and you feel it in Google Calendar, whatever you have to happen to you, use a story for studying and a list of when all your assignments are due. Then, or when you are going to sit down and study, then you won't be in a position where you have to cram for 10 hours a day, hopefully right before. In a now important exam, it's also a very effectively a way of studying. By the way, I mean, first of all, people who cram for 10 hours, they stay studying for 10 hours they are really because I can study for 10 hours. I don't have the powerful of concentration what enables me to do that for a long period of time. I can miss about 3 hours of intense intellectual activity before resident. A study published in Monti's neuroscience for us by learning, where study sessions are spread out over time, can be tried as effective mass learning. This approach enhances memory retention and recall by encoding information into long-term memory. Research consistently shows that students who spend their studying perform better on assessment taken weeks later compared to those who cram. In addition to space learning, getting enough sleep plays a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the Sleep Foundation, sleep deprivation hinders the brain's ability to create new pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain in knowledge. And also the case that you study sleep and then study and then sleep and then study and then sleep you best down, then you're much more likely to remember. It's also much more likely that are much likely to remember if you try to recall the material, and so highlighting in that sort of thing isn't very useful, but reading, closing the book, summarizing what you read without opening the damn book, that's useful. And the reason for that is you are practicing remembering. And that's what you have to practice. If you're practicing memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just go over the thing over. That will help you with recognition memory. but some method will help you recall memory. The best thing you can do is read and write every day. Couple of hours every day. Write about things you find important and see if you can discover what you believe to be true, and build your foundation. And it's unbelievable practical. Research published by Jackson v. Weinstein of Brigham Young University explores how reading in literary fiction enhances one person's ability to understand others, a skill known as the theory of mind. This refers to the human capacity to recognize that others have beliefs and desires different from your own. In the study, participants were divided into groups and assigned different reading materials. Afterward, they took a test measuring their ability to perceive others' emotions. The results show that even those who read literature fiction scored significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So what seems to happen in story is that they still. So they watch people watch people and then they tell story about what they see. They leave a lot of out those story, everything that's boring, hopefully. And then mind my story by starting thing yes I read it and then make maybe a great come along and write something really interesting. Profile character transformation and then you will say well that's fiction and then will you say that's not true because fiction. But then maybe that's not right. Maybe it's more than true. Because you want the truth. The truth is mundane reality, and you have already got as much. What you want is the destination of interesting experience, and you might think, well, it's interesting. Well, that says you don't know. That's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about voluntary behavior, but a motivational state will disinhibit or active depending on the situation. Automatic response. So, for example, when you when you read food deprived and you start to think about food and start to organize your behavior put toward food and to perceive the world. That way your body also prepare for food and so it's useful to think about motivated style and micro personality. According to an article from Question Today, titled "The Scientific Truth Behind It to Make a Mental Imagery and Actual Perception Share Common Neural Circuits so they have different firing dynamics." This phenomenon is explained by Heff's law, which states that neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, if you do something in association with something else, the two things will get interlinked at a neural level. This principle highlights the brain's ability to strengthen neural connection through repetition and association. For example, if someone repeatedly visualizes themselves speaking confidently in public, the brain starts to reinforce the same neural pathways used in actual public speaking, potentially improving their real life performance. Even when you're just walking to where you want to go, if you're successfully walking there, your brain tracks to what you're doing. The session that you are activated while you are doing it, and if you want to in result in the result you desire, then the dopamine flows those little neurons that are active and make them grow and flourish and so as you practice something that's working. The circuit that is activated as you are practicing is by in dopamine and that makes it stronger and that feels good. It's rough. It's a part of positive emotion and so the positive emotion move you forward but also encourage you to develop a habit of not practice and so one of the things I would probably do as I don't make a habit of pushing things that are good for you because you build that into that's what happens if you become addicted to someone to something build a little monster inside you that's the role is after one goal or despite everything else not a good outcome. In order to withstand suffering, let's say your life has to have some meaning. Okay, well, that's mean a bunch of things mean that, by the way, that you overcome suffering is by making the suffering into something meaningful, and I don't mean that methodically. I mean it technically. You make a mistake, it cause something you know about something, and you make mistake again. It has stopped arrested rating with 258 participation. Researchers found that those encouraged to embrace discomfort, better self achievement, and will like to incorporate restoration journaling into their daily life. compared to those who are simply intruding to focus on the task. Receiving negative experience as a sign of process is particularly motivating when positive experiences are delayed and discomfort is immediate. It's not life is suffering idea. It's like why learn something because you are wrong. Who cares? Make you suffer. You care. So if you run out little scheme in the world, uh, little action pattern, you don't get what you. If you are if you just choose you burn into tears and crying. Why is that? It's because you don't know what you don't. What you doing. It's like time was some negative emotion and indicate you're wrong. To require pain. No, I don't believe that exactly because people who are curious, and to go and be curious and to learn new things will be very exciting. And so, what it seems to be is not just a rate of learning that's too fast. That's hurt you. That's what make you cry. But if you get the right, just right, you're opening up enough novelty so that you can benefit from the possibilities that give you dopamine get fundamentally. You can benefit from that possibility without being over by the way, especially the element of it can you can tell when that's happening of the coolest thing as far as I am concerned.